From the local station, the morning show starts now.
Within the hour, St. Johns County teen, this one you see here, accused of killing 13-year-old Tristan Bailey, will be in court. The 14-year-old Aiden Fucci is facing a second-degree murder charge.
Tristan Bailey was found dead in a wooded area near her home Sunday, hours after her family reported her missing. As her family is grieving, their community is coming together to show love and support. Hundreds attended 3 vigils remembering Tristan. This morning, we talk about how you can help your children get through this trauma and answer their questions.
We are also following a traffic alert right now that could slow down your commute. Right now, 2 southbound lanes of the Fuller Warren Bridge are blocked. You can see on the left of your screen there, a car flipped during a crash.
Lena joins us. Best ways to get around those delays, Lena?
Now, here's Keith Pearson Toyota Time Saver Traffic.
Good morning, drivers. Sorry, I was getting some stuff set up because we just got an alert about a crash on the Buckman Bridge. I will go back to that in a second. But yes, we still have 2 of those lanes blocked, causing a lot of delays in the area. I've already told you, please avoid this until those lanes do reopen. Right now, if you are traveling out there on I-10 eastbound, it's taking you at least 35 minutes to travel from the Beltway towards the Fuller Warren. Those delays are going towards I-10 eastbound and all the way back on 95 southbound through Northwest Jacksonville. So if you can hop onto Beaver Street and take that into town, you can avoid traveling on the Fuller Warren. And if you can take either the Acosta or the main bridge or Main Street Bridge, depending on where you're going, you'll also be able to get around this. Right now, still tracking some delays on the northbound side as well, but not nearly as bad as what we're seeing out here on the southbound side. So unfortunately, there's no true timetable of when those lanes will reopen. So please avoid that area, as I mentioned before. And real quick before we go, if you're traveling across the Buckman, give yourself just a little extra time on the southbound side. We do have the left lane that's blocked due to a crash. It looks like there are some delays that are building up in that area, but the good news is you do still have 3 other lanes to navigate around. So outside of that, we'll go ahead and toss it over to Richard for a look at what you can expect for today's weather.
Well, thank you very much. Let's get you outside where we're going to see those partly cloudy skies and the potential for some showers. And as you see, as we look down the pike, some cooler days ahead. As a matter of fact, even cooler than where the beaches sit right now. We continue to warm up into the upper 70s, calm conditions, seeing some blue sky breaks here. What we'll see, westerly flow will move some clouds from the Gulf Coast closer to the Atlantic. And then we have our sea breeze interaction that can lock those clouds in. Going from our partly cloudy to, at that time, cloudy skies. Upper 70s already here between Jacks Beach and Arlington. At the airport, we went from 67 to 71 degrees, 70s starting to fill in. Last of the 60s there along I-10, I-75. Still got a good handful of them left over into southeast Georgia with those 70s also beginning to build. So your bus stop walk this morning, anywhere between the mid to upper 60s, including that of the low 70s now in the River City. Then temperatures will top out at daytime highs in the 80s. This is going to be widespread. The exception to that might be some 90s here from Gainesville over to Flagler County, southern Putnam around, say, Georgetown. Could see some of those lower 90s as well. Our cloudy skies become partly cloudy, only to close back in again with what will be those showers as the sea breeze becomes active. Mild temperatures overnight. We've got clouds that are in place, and underneath our cloudy skies here, there is the chance for some overnight showers. They would be mostly light, but that portends what will be the elevated chance for some showers and storms between Wednesday and Thursday. We'll stabilize things somewhat, but there are some questions here when we look ahead to the weekend. We'll highlight those as we see you for your get you ready for the rest of your work week here and the weekend coming up at 8:15.
Thank you, Rich. At about 8:30, we expect the teenager accused of killing 13-year-old Tristan Bailey to make his first appearance in court.
Aiden Fucci is charged with second-degree murder. Right now, it is still unclear if he will be charged as an adult. Investigators are piecing together what happened on Sunday. Here's a look at what we know right now. The Tristan's family last saw her at 12 a.m. About an hour and 15 minutes later, she was seen at the North Durban Amenity Center. At
10 a.m., her family reported her missing, and a missing child alert was activated just before 5 Sunday night. About an hour later, her body was found. And yesterday at 11:30, St. Johns County Sheriff Robert Hardwick announced that Aiden Fucci was arrested. This morning, we have team coverage about Tristan's death and today's hearing for the young man accused of killing her.
We begin with News 4 Jax reporter Jennifer Reddy, who is live in the neighborhood near where Fucci House is. Jen, this hearing, though, will actually be held in Volusia County.
Good morning. It will. The sheriff's office says that the teenager is in custody with the Department of Juvenile Justice, and this hearing will take place about 80 miles away from where we currently are at the Volusia County Detention Center, because this is the center that does serve St. Johns County. Fucci is charged with second-degree murder in the death of Tristan Bailey. The sheriff says it is still very early in this investigation, but did confirm the two teens went to the same school. The sheriff's office says they found evidence in the teen's house, and they are reviewing posts on social media that may be related to this investigation. In a statement, the state attorney's office says, in part, our office will continue to investigate this case to determine both the appropriate charges going forward and whether or not he will be charged as an adult. He is due in court in just about 30 minutes at 8:30 this morning. We will be watching that hearing and bring you the latest at 9 o'clock. Jennifer Reddy, Channel 4, the local station.
Jen, thank you. News4JAX reporter Ashley Harding is live at the North Amenities Center, where a memorial for Tristan is growing. And Ashley, hundreds of people gathered for 3 separate vigils for Tristan last night.
Absolutely, Bruce and Jen. It really goes to show you how many people loved Tristan Bailey. I'll step out of the way and just show you that growing memorial we were talking about. You can see in the daylight hours just how bright it is. There are dozens of bouquets of flowers there. There are also candles. We also saw some cards. And you also see there on the tree the blue ribbon that's tied around that one tree. We are told that that was Tristan's favorite color. Again, it goes to show you the love and the outpouring being felt for this young woman and her grieving family. It was a sea of friends, loved ones, and people from all over as they gathered to remember Tristan Bailey. For this tight-knit community, the shock and grief is still setting in.
I was so sad and upset. I love Tristan so much. She's always been there for me. She's been one of my closest friends.
They held candles, some wore aqua, one of Tristan's favorite colors, and people remember her as energetic, bubbly, a hard worker, and dedicated athlete. Her friends still remember hearing the news that she had been reported missing, and the growing concern they felt when she hadn't come home.
Me and my dad went over there to the search. They didn't let us search at the time that we got there, but we were definitely there and we were asking the cops a lot of questions.
With the case against her accused killer going forward, friends and people in the community just hope she's remembered for the bright light she brought to everyone around her.
Tristan, I love you so much and you mean the world to me and you're always there for me, and I hope you're doing great up there. Fly high.
And as we've shown you, Tristan was also a dedicated cheerleader, and she cheered for 2 squads here in the area. One of them actually did come together for its own prayer circle as well. And of course, the investigation into what happened is still ongoing, and we are following. Ashley Harding, Channel 4, the local station.
There are so many questions surrounding Tristan's murder that I, as a parent, can tell you it is difficult to know where to begin. But this morning, our goal is to get the answers to questions you moms and dads may have as a result of this story that has broken our hearts. As our children asking, how could this happen? And how do we answer our children's questions? Joining me on the morning show is Dr. Dan Weinberg, a psychiatrist who actually lives in that Durban community and whose own child is asking the very questions that I mentioned. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Definitely not convicting the 14-year-old in custody who is charged with Tristan's murder here because he is entitled to a fair trial. In a broader sense, let me ask you about one teen murdering another. What might lead to that?
Teen-on-teen violence is not very common in this age group, especially in a community like the one that we live in. I don't want to speculate on the cause, as you mentioned, but some things that can be related to violence in teens are drugs, as well as underlying mental illness. When you get outside of that, then there is an element of criminal sociopathy that starts to emerge at this age. We can see things similar to what you would see in the adult population, such as lack of remorse and no feelings of guilt.
I know a parent who happens to be one of your neighbors who has 2 young children, and her son is asking, Mommy, it wasn't an adult who they think murdered Tristan? It was another kid? How do you answer that?
You answer it honestly, which is, at this point in time, we don't know what happened, we don't know why it happened, but a young woman has passed on and has moved on to heaven, and that there is a person who is in custody, who is also goes to that school that is related to the incident. A lot of people have anxiety talking to their children about what has happened in the incident, and my wife and I had to tell our second grader as well. It's important to remember that as long as you are loving and caring, there is really no wrong way to talk to your child. You want to give them time, so different children react differently. For instance, when we first told my eight-year-old, he went to his room, he started playing with his Legos, it didn't really register, and then he came out a short time later and said, "Am I safe?" And we reassured him that 100% he was safe and that this incident was not going to go any further. With older people closer in age, it's going to hit them harder, especially if they're in the same classroom as the victim. And different dynamics are going to come into play if they knew both of the people involved and if they spent time with both of them. So it's important to give your younger teenagers time to process and not to push them. You want to show loving support and tell them that you're here to talk to them, but also give them the space that they need. In the coming weeks, we're going to see more and more emerge as to what happened, as well as more symptoms for people who are struggling with this. I encourage parents to watch their children's sleep habits and appetite. If your kid normally sleeps very well and they didn't sleep at all last night, right now, that's normal. In a week or two, that should start to level out a little bit. Same thing with appetite and energy level.
I want to show you a picture. It's of Aiden in the back of the sheriff's vehicle during the investigation. It popped up on social media. He texted, "Hey guys, has anybody, INBODY, seen Tristan lately?" and flashed the peace sign. He seems, I want to use the term cavalier. Does that picture tell you anything?
Well, it certainly says that he's not taking it seriously, I think, in the manner in which he posted it and sent it out there. We don't want to assume guilt and we don't know what happened, but I think that this is something emerging in our society where our young teenagers are fixated on social media and they are looking at everything as a way to kind of filter how they see the world. So I think this is an emerging problem in our society, and it's one that we're all struggling with because as parents, I didn't have that growing up.
So, Dr. Weinberg, I think the biggest takeaways from this discussion as a parent myself are that, number one, we've got to be patient with our children, we've got to listen to them, we've got to also give them space, and that this is something that's not going to go away overnight.
Correct. This is going to be a marathon, not a sprint, and it's going to affect the community for a long time to come. And one of the things that my wife and I did is we wanted to help people in our community process this and deal with their children. So certainly yesterday we went out to the amenity center and talked to parents who had questions. We don't want to talk online, but we are very, very willing to talk to people one-on-one in person, and we'd be happy to help guide that process and help them process their grief, as well as just end up saying at points in time, hey, this is normal. What your kid's going through is normal. It's okay.
It's also a time for parents to listen to their children and not always talk. Dr. Weinberg, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Jen.
13 minutes after 8 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, and right now we are following another traffic alert. If you are headed south over the Buckman Bridge, a crash is blocking the far left lane. We're trying to train in on that accident, but as you can see as we zoom in, we're trying to get it for you. Most important part here is the far left southbound lane on the Buckman Bridge is blocked because of a crash. You can see how slow the traffic is moving there this morning. You do want to avoid that area. Lena is tracking the slowdown there as well as the one on the Fuller Warren Bridge. Stay with us. Much more from her coming up.
All right, so we are helping not only adults but kiddos get some sleep, answering some of the top questions to make sure our kids are getting restful nights. We have pediatric neurologist Dr. Adam Rappaport with Wolfson Nemours Children's Specialty Care joining us this morning. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we had a viewer that sent us a question specifically for the kiddos, saying that she has a 5-year-old who wakes up every night, that she hates bedtime, always wakes up early, and she said she's not sure how she got anxiety around bedtime. So tips to maybe calm this 5-year-old stress?
So it's really difficult, and there's a lot of questions that need to be asked regarding what's going on in this specific situation. So we would ask, how is the parent putting the child to sleep in the first place? Is there an appropriate bedtime routine? Is the kid getting enough sleep? Because everybody wakes up in the middle of the night. Every human being wakes up multiple times. We're just tired and groggy and have to go back to sleep. Now, some kids require what put them to sleep. So if that's either a mom laying with them or rubbing their back or something like a pacifier or a blankie that they're going to need in the middle of the night when they wake up.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions to be asked regarding this specific situation.
You know, and I do remember when my kids were little, I felt like I had to be very calm because any anxiety that I had transferred over to the child.
Absolutely.
So you really have to kind of create this really pleasant sleep environment as well. All right, so what is, Jinwa was very surprised by this, the right amount of sleep recommended by age group?
So we tell our patients that the recommendations by age, so we tell patients that are, or parents of patients that are between 0 to 2 months of age, they should be getting 14 to 17 hours of sleep. Yeah, so from 3 months to 1 year, they should be getting between 12 to 15 hours of sleep. Okay. Then we say the toddlers should be getting somewhere between 11 to 14 hours of sleep. The preschool age kids should be getting 10 to 13 hours of sleep. And then older than that, up until about 13 years of age, they should be getting between 9 and 11, and 13 to 17, 18 years old, they should be getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep.
Okay, more in line with what we should be getting.
Exactly.
What are the best ways to kind of get the little ones to sleep?
So it's all about routine and environment. So we try to establish the same routine night after night in the same environment. Sometimes we need things like blackout shades. We need things like white noise to kind of drown out the extraneous noises that can wake us up or make it difficult to fall asleep. So the most important thing is to create a very specific routine that you guys can adhere to, or anybody can adhere to, on a nightly basis.
You know, I had a mom ask me this, you know, are some kids naturally night owls? Or, you know, I feel like as adults, we kind of get into that where I'm an early bird or I'm a night owl. How can parents kind of help with that? Or maybe it's the parents' habits.
So there's a little bit of both. There's something called circadian preference, and this is somebody's natural ability to have a inkling where they want to sleep a little, or they want to sleep a little bit later in the night or earlier in the night. There are some very extreme examples of this that are actually genetic mutations that will make people have better night's sleep, whether it is much later into the evening and early morning hours, or opposite, where they go to bed very early in the evening and wake up in the late night and things like that. So there are different mechanisms involved. It's environment, it's nature, it's nurture, and it could be genetics as well.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about you know, these sleep studies. As you hear them for adults, you know, we talked about the first mom who wrote in with anxiety, maybe for the child. What would you suggest that this mom do? Maybe take the child to a specialist, and how do sleep studies work for kids?
So sleep studies, it sounds very cumbersome because we do a lot of sensors on kids. We monitor, we put monitors under their nose and over their mouth, and we check their heart rate, and we check their EEG, their brainwave frequencies, when they do a sleep study, just like we would for an adult. We typically are looking for two things when we do a sleep study. Do they have what we call sleep disordered breathing, which would be like obstructive sleep apnea? Right. A lot of people think that kids cannot have obstructive sleep apnea. We think of kids that are snoring, they're gasping, they're holding their breath at night, and we often see that their daytime symptoms can be things like hyperactivity and attentiveness.
Right.
So those are the things that we really look for, and if they have movement issues. So if they're moving too much in their sleep, they're very restless sleepers, these are things that we can quantify and look at in an overnight sleep study.
Don't be afraid to take the kiddos to make sure that they're getting what they need and that you are equipping them with the gift of sleep, I like to call it. Thank you for coming in today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
And we'll be right back after the break.
Exact Track 4D, the Weather Authority's secret weapon against severe storms. The most cutting-edge weather technology in Northeast Florida and South Georgia.
I'm going to pick up the story here. So we're looking out over the bridges. Obviously, this is for the traffic, and underneath what are the cloudy skies right now. It's still dry, but it will not stay that way for everybody all day long. 70s continue to spread. Jacksonville at 71 now, 76 here between Arlington and the beaches. Moving to southeast Georgia, we've got a lot of 70s starting to build. Jones now at 70 with our leftovers there in the upper 60s with only 2 degrees to go for some, 1 degree for others, and there's only one more 60 left over here as we look out over the board. Just based on the temperature, it looks like you'll easily be in the lower 70s there around Hastings. Our bus stop forecast here for the 8:30 view. has us getting off the bus later today. Temperatures will continue to warm and we'll look for the upper 80s. It's also around that same time where we could be stepping off the bus to some of those showers, especially south of I-10, at least for the early run here. So here we are at 2 to 3 o'clock. Notice some minor changes with this particular, bringing in some showers here through Putnam into St. Johns County at 2 to 3 o'clock, and then we'll see another go around. Now this one shapes up later this evening, splash and dash along I-10 and then along I-95 later today. Overnight tonight, as the depiction shows, slight chance for some showers will continue. We'll average about a 20% chance, and this is all ahead of a frontal boundary that comes through for Wednesday. This is the one that's going to come, sag, stall, and sit a spell here, keeping us unsettled through our Thursday forecast. So going back to the Euro, you'll notice that the numbers here with the Euro and the GFS that I was showing you actually comes up the same, with 1 2/3 inches, and the same numbers collectively that we're watching here to the south. These are the areas today that could see the showers and the thunderstorms, but this takes us all the way through Friday. And if you notice, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, this numbers stay the same, and you're not seeing that depiction here offshore like some of the other ones developing that trough. We're going to continue to watch these as some of the models, 2 of them, want to try to develop a weak front that's offshore. 88 degrees this afternoon. We'll go with cloudy skies, see a little bit of a break in the action, some gaps in between those clouds that'll take us into our daytime highs, which are going to be widespread in the 80s. Also for our inland areas at 88. I'm not ruling out the low 90s here for Putnam, Alachua, and Flagler County. In southeast Georgia, a little more cloud cover. Daytime highs look like you'll largely get capped in the 80s there. And as far as the pollen count, it's under a 5. It keeps us on the moderate scale, and it's hickory, the last one added to the list. You're out about this weekend, or maybe you're thinking about some redfish. The Spots tournament here, it's the Roundup, Redfish Roundup, Jacksonville Marine Charities, with the proceeds here going to the Safe Harbor Boys Home, and that is this Saturday. Another shot here and another view from Erica Beaches. Just clicking those pictures, and each one better than the next. That just looks like, hey, come on out and join me at the beach. 88 degrees, northwest winds right now at 8. We're going to see this northwesterly component swap all the way around to more of an easterly flow. That'll give us our sea breeze front and the potential for some showers, but much better chances beginning to stack up for Wednesday. Ooh, and Thursday. See if I can get that to come back here. Finishing out the work week, we'll quiet things down late Friday and hoping that it continues that way. Right now, we'll leave it at a 20% chance as we get ready for mild temperatures this weekend. Our Build a Kit campaign continues. We'll be going through some of the items here with the checklist and, of course, getting you ready with the evacuation and planning for our upcoming hurricane season.
You're watching Channel 4, the local station. Live with Jennifer Waugh, Bruce Hamilton, Melanie Lawson, Stacey Spanos. Time Saver Traffic with Lena Pringle. The Weather Authority forecast with Richard Nunn. And traffic and breaking news with Sky 4. The morning show continues.
At 8:32, another breaking traffic alert. This is on the Dames Point Bridge. A crash is causing delays for drivers there. It is one of 3 traffic alerts we're following right now on area bridges. Lena, you've got some new information about getting around all of those delays.
Now, here's Keith Pearson Toyota Time Saver Traffic.
Good morning, drivers. Yeah, if you're heading out to the Dames Point Bridge, this is on the southbound side. The left and the center lanes are blocked, meaning there's only 1 lane of traffic. This is the end of the bridge that's going towards the south side connector. There's not a super easy way to get around this. You can take Heckscher. It really just all depends on where you're going, but you definitely need to pack the patience as you hit the roads, because as Bruce just mentioned, this is one of 3 crashes that we're tracking, and all of them, ironically enough, happen to be on our bridges. The next one still tracking that crash on the Fuller Warren. The southbound side, we still have 2 of those center lanes blocked. I did see where they have gotten the car right side up, and they are working towards those clearing phases, but it's still no telling on how long traffic will be impacted in this area. Drivers only moving about 5 miles per hour. You do have the Acosta and Main Street Bridge, and you can also take Beaver Street instead of traveling on I-10 eastbound, since we're still tracking delays over there. And thirdly, we are tracking a crash over on the Buckman Bridge. It's the southbound side. The good news about this one is we are tracking some delays. However, there's only 1 of those left lanes that are currently blocked, so no need to take an alternate route, but you will have to give yourself some additional time as you do travel across the Buckman. Continue to keep you updated on whatever else you need to know, but for now, please just know if you're crossing over any of the bridges, you're going to have to pack the patience on this Tuesday. That's your Keith Pearson Toyota Time Saver Traffic.
Developing right now at 8:30, we are monitoring the situation in a Volusia County courthouse and awaiting the first appearance of 14-year-old Aiden Fucci. He is charged with second-degree murder and accused of killing 13-year-old Tristan Bailey. As I mentioned, he is facing second-degree murder charges after Bailey was found dead in her St. Johns County neighborhood over the weekend. It is still unclear if he will be charged as an adult. When he makes his appearance, you can watch it here live on Channel 4 and streaming live on newsforjax.com. Jen?
Thank you, Bruce. We are continuing our conversation this morning about helping you, parents and caregivers, prevent a hot car tragedy in your life with your little one. Now, the highs today are only expected to be about 88 degrees, but as the summer approaches, we can see those temperatures rise very quickly. And in fact, what few people realize is that a car can heat up 20 degrees in just 10 minutes. That's important perspective given the fact that since 1998, nearly 900 children have died of heat stroke here in the United States because they were left or became trapped in a hot car. According to Safe Kids Northeast Florida, 53% of hot car deaths happen when a parent forgot their baby was in the back seat. 46% of those involved a parent driving a baby to childcare or preschool. You don't realize, you forget, and tragedy happens. The last hour, we showed you the new technology being installed in cars to prevent parents from accidentally forgetting their child in the car. Danielle Carlino is with Safe Kids of Northeast Florida, joining us this morning with some easy reminders that don't cost you a penny. Danielle, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so we've got a rear facing, because this typically happens with children who are rear facing because mom and dad simply forget they're there.
Exactly. It happens all the time. And there's a lot of quick things that we can do just to keep a reminder that there is a child in our back seat. So we do see, just like you said, a lot of times in the daycare setting, when they're on the way to the daycare, we see that it's when the changes in routine happen. That's when the parents, sometimes it slips their mind. So there's quite a few things we can do. First of all, never leave your child alone in a hot car, even just for a minute. Even just for a minute, just because we talked about that 20-10 rule, 20 degrees in 10 minutes. So there's simple things.
Jen,
like,
excuse me, I've got to interrupt you. Apparently, the court appearance is happening right now in Volusia County. 14-year-old Aiden Fucci going before the judge. Let's listen in.
Looking for there's
Okay, the judge is about to begin the appearances. There are a number of media cameras in the courtroom. He is making sure that everybody is adhering to protocol before he begins. Aiden is the first of the people in the courtroom who is going to appear before him.
all right. Once again, if you're not here as a party to these cases, your microphones need to be muted.
You can come right here in the front. You come right here in the front.
Basically, by being muted, the judge means that the reporters who are in the courtroom are not allowed to be brought.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Fucci. I'm Judge Orfinger. Do you see a parent or your guardian on the screen?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Aiden,
Oh, there she is. I see her.
I just have you on mute.
Okay. Which one is your parent or guardian, sir?
Judge, it's listed as iPhone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
And Pixel. So that must be both of them. They're not named. We have iPhone, it's the woman with long dark hair, and Pixel 3XL.
All right. Ma'am, what is your name?
Crystal Smith.
With a C or a K?
C.
Thank you. And sir, what is your name?
Jason Fucci.
And are you his parents?
Yes.
All right. Madam Clerk, would you call his case, please?
In the interest of Aiden Fucci, 2021, 30287 CJCI. Can I have the parties raise their right hand, please? All three of you, if you could raise your right hand, please. Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Can you answer out loud, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Fucci, as I said, my name is Judge Orfinger. I'm going to conduct your detention hearing this morning, which is sometimes known as a first appearance. The purpose of your detention hearing is to determine whether there is probable cause for me to believe that an act of delinquency occurred and that you are the person who committed it. If I find that there is probable cause, we will then discuss the terms which the law allows you to be either released or detained. There's some things that you need to be aware of. First off, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you do say in this proceeding can be used against you. This proceeding is being recorded, and the assistant state attorney is here, and she will be taking careful note of anything you say. Secondly, you have the right to be represented by an attorney. And if you or your family can't afford an attorney, I will appoint one to represent you. Now, let me just ask your parents briefly, do you have private counsel here today to represent him?
Yes. Well, his attorney should be there, Andy. Anwar Snober.
What's his name?
Anwar Snober. Andy Snober.
Okay, I do not see
Mike, call him.
him on the Zoom call.
1 second.
Well, we just had someone enter the Zoom call. Let me see if this is him.
Okay.
What did you say the name was?
Andy Snober. Huh? Anwar Snober. It should.
That is not who I just admitted to.
Can we call him?
If you can get him reasonably quickly, otherwise I'll appoint the public defender for this morning.
Mike, he's gonna have to answer.
He's having a computer issue glitch.
He's having a computer issue glitch and he's trying to log on.
Well, while he is attempting to log on, as I said, to Aiden,
Mike, he's gonna have
he has the right to counsel at every stage of the proceedings. If you can't afford counsel, I can appoint counsel. I see that Mr. Snober is now joining the call. Mr. Snober, would you please turn your camera on? Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. We've already begun your client's detention hearing. I have informed him of his right to remain silent and his right to counsel. His parents advise that you are representing him. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And your name for the record, sir?
Andy Snober, S-N-O-B-E-R.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Fucci, you're charged with second-degree murder, murder committed with a depraved mind but without premeditation. that is murder in the second degree, although it is a first degree felony. I have reviewed the arrest report. Mr. Snober, do you have any comments on probable cause?
No, sir.
Okay. I do find that there is probable cause to believe that the offense occurred. And at this time, I'm going to order that Mr. Fucci be detained by the Department of Juvenile Justice in secure detention for 21 days or until further order of the court. The 21-day period will end on May 31st, 2019. Ms. Paula, I take it the state will have made its filing decision by that time.
Your Honor, if I may, Jennifer Dutton for the State Attorney's Office. Yes, Your Honor, that decision will be made in that time frame.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Ms. Dunton.
That's okay. That's okay.
Handling this. All right. Do you have any other comment, Ms. Dunton?
No, not at this time, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Snober?
No, sir, not at this time.
All right. Mr. Fucci, Ms. Smith, as his parents, you are responsible for payment of $5 a day to the Department of Juvenile Justice during his period of detention. If he requires medical care, the department is authorized to consent to it, although you remain liable for the payment for that treatment. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. And that concludes this detention hearing. We'll move on to our next case.
All right, you've been watching the live proceedings from Volusia County. The judge overseeing those proceedings is in the 7th Judicial Circuit. His name is Judge Michael Orfinger. He was elected to the bench in 2014, and the purpose was to decide whether or not there was probable cause at this point to hold the 14-year-old Aiden Fucci. The judge ordered him detained for 21 days or until further order by the court. It is to give the state attorney time to go ahead and file their decision. As far as representation for the 14-year-old, he is being represented by Andy Snober, who is an attorney with offices here on the south side of Jacksonville. Joining the proceedings virtually were his parents, Jason Fucci and Esther Smith. They have agreed to go ahead and pay a $5 per day fee for his care and well-being. They assumed responsibility for that as well. As you heard, he has been charged with second-degree murder at this point in time. Over the course of the next 21 days, the state attorney will decide if additional charges will be brought. They will also be charged with deciding whether or not he will be charged as a juvenile or as an adult. We will continue to follow this case, and as we learn more, you'll be brought up to date on air and online at news4jax.com. It's 8:47, and after the break, we'll check back in with Jen, talking more about keeping your kids safe in hot cars.
We're picking back up on our conversation we were having about preventing hot car deaths among our children. And it's all about setting reminders, because oftentimes this is something that accidentally happens with parents. And one of those reminders, as Danielle Carlino was explaining to us earlier, is simply taking your shoe off, right? And putting your shoe in the back.
Exactly. Because oftentimes we know we're not going to leave without our shoe. It's one of those really easy reminders. So when you take your shoe off and you put that in the back seat, always remember to just kind of strap it in with the seatbelt, because anything that's loose in the car can be a projectile. So that's what we should do right there. That's something to easy remember. And then you can even have a teddy bear or stuffed animal like this, and you can actually put that right in the front seat.
Something that reminds you of your child.
Exactly. It'll remind you so that you can look right over and be like, you know you have your child in the back seat. And then another thing you can do is even set reminders on your phone. So say that within a couple minutes of when you usually pick them up at daycare, you can just set a reminder to say, let me call the daycare, make sure that they have my child. Let me make sure my child's not in the car. Because oftentimes when a child is forgotten in the car, it can be hours until they are found because you think that routine, you dropped them off already. So that's
and a lot of times it's a broken routine in that some other parent has taken the child that day that normally doesn't take them.
Exactly.
So does it make sense to call the daycare ahead of time and say, hey, listen, if I'm not there by a certain time?
It's a great safety measure. Now, it's not the daycare's responsibility to have that protocol, but if you do call your daycare, just have an open and honest conversation with them. Say, if we can do this, that would be so much easier, it can save lives. So just say within a couple minutes of your usual drop-off time, if I don't drop off my child, can you just give me a call and make sure that my child is within my care? So that's an easy reminder as well.
Danielle, thank you for your time this morning. So important. Simple techniques that you can use as the weather gets hotter. These are important reminders, given the fact that we lose 900 children a year to hot car deaths, typically because a parent has forgotten that a sleeping baby in a rear-facing seat has fallen asleep in the back, and they simply just forget that they are there. Thanks for joining us for the 8 o'clock hour of the morning show. The 9 o'clock starts right after the break. Stay with us, everyone.